Hi, welcome to the AFI interview series. My name is Scott Cardis, and I'm here with Ian Tibby.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks.
Nice to see you. Can you tell me about yourself, Ian?
Sure. I am 32 years old. I've been in Korea for about 8 years now, and I'm currently a graduate student at Yonsei University.
Excellent. What are you studying at Yonsei?
International Trade, Finance, and Management. My main focus is especially on international trade and economic development.
And how long have you been a student there?
This is going to be my fourth semester.
Fourth semester. So can you tell me a little bit about your education pre-COVID, and then we'll get to post-COVID in a minute.
Pre-COVID was a fairly normal university experience. It's a long commute for me to get to school, but normal classes in the morning, normal classes in the afternoon. It was a fairly normal university experience. I really enjoyed it.
I see. And then how obviously COVID changed that a lot. What happened to your classes then?
They all went online. So we, like most other universities and probably most other businesses, we are using Zoom meetings. So depending on what the class time is, we all have to sit at our computers, get the webcam set up, and then it's 3 hours of online classes.
I see. And how would you say that the Zoom meetings have changed peer-to-peer interaction? Because that's a big part of graduate learning.
It is. It is a very big part of it. In some ways, it's actually improved it. Because when you're in a Zoom meeting, you can see a face, and then you can actually put a name to a face. You can actually see who's in class and who you're talking to. Oftentimes, when you're at university, when there's a class with 30, 35 people in there, you just don't know everyone. So in that way, it's actually been beneficial. In other ways, not so much. Especially when you're listening to the professor and he wants you to raise a question. If you want to ask a question, it's more difficult. You have to make sure that if the internet connection is bad, if someone drops out, you have to make sure you're taking turns in order. Sometimes people are speaking on top of each other. It is a bit of a mess when it actually comes to discussion.
I see. Oh, okay. Then, well, actually, what about professor interaction? Has professor interaction or availability increased or decreased? Do you think the quality of your interaction is good or bad?
That's a very good question. I would say the quality hasn't changed all that much because you're still getting the same material. They're usually presenting from a PowerPoint. You can see the slides as they go through them. But it's not the same as when you're able to see the professor write something on the board, if they're wanting to go into a more in-depth discussion. So in that sense, it is worse. It feels, for lack of a better word, janky.
Do you think you've gotten a lot out of your education here?
Personally, yes. For me, education, it's not just for getting a job. It's not just for, future growth. It's also just for the joy. I enjoy learning new things. Okay. I enjoy discussions. I enjoy asking different questions to get answers. So in that sense, I would definitely say so. I do wish that some of the classes were a bit more focused. I do have a feeling that some of my professors are just there to talk for 3 hours, not necessarily educate. They're more there to lecture rather than educate, if you understand what I mean.
Kind of following you. So when you say lecture versus educate, right. what to you, what's the difference between that? Because normally, universities are like, you go to lecture hall in undergraduate. Right. I did those. So right.
Some of them, they'll go off topic. They'll go off on tangents for 20 minutes, not necessarily related to the topic at hand. So you feel like, okay, that was interesting, but that wasn't related to what we need to be learning about. You take a class to understand the main topics. You take the class to get information. So when the professor's unfocused, when they're not, I guess, delivering value, I guess you could call it. When they're not delivering value, you sort of wonder, why am I paying for this? Is this really worth my time right now? In that sense.
Now, a lot of people, and I see these articles like every day or every few days on Facebook and LinkedIn and Reddit and stuff. Mm-hmm. People say, oh my gosh, this distance learning is here to stay. We should all be implementing it as a permanent part of our curriculum. What are your thoughts on that? And we're kind of strictly speaking with undergraduate and preferably graduate level. Not even worrying about the children. That's a whole different can of worms.
Yes, that's very different. Supplement. I mean, we've had distance learning through mail for years. I mean, if you've heard of the Open University, that was a distance learning education university that was set up in the 1980s. So we've always had distance learning. It's always been an option. I would say it's here to stay, but it's here to stay as an option for those that want to do it. There will always be people that prefer to do distance learning if it's cheaper, if it meets their schedule better. And there's people that will go to university physically because that's better for them. So it is here to stay, but it's an option. I don't think it's going to be the rule. I don't think so.
You know, we keep seeing these discussions too about how we don't need traditional education. A kind of similar topic. I've seen a lot of people saying we don't even need college. Why do we need universities?
Right.
We could just have people from around the world tune in to Professor Hong Gil-dong teaching at Yonsei University from everywhere, and thus we don't even need to be in the same country. What are your thoughts on that?
Massive open online courses, that kind of thing. Yes, of course you can. There's nothing wrong with that, but that is you're still getting that lecture, you're still getting that experience. But university is not just getting the education. You go there to, yes, get the education, meet the professors and get connections, but it's also the people. Distance learning is really useful. There's nothing wrong with distance education. But for me, a big part of it was meeting new people, making new friends, and getting ideas from them. So what would be your goal in this class? Or what kind of jobs would you be looking for after this? Hey, why don't we make a little group so we can study together to do better on this test? Yeah. And for that reason, I think university is not going to go away. Okay. No, not in the traditional sense. I think, as you said, like these massive open online courses, distance education, these will be further options that students can take. Okay. I don't think university will be replaced, though.
Okay. And then just one final question for you, kind of with this. Has there ever been worries of academic dishonesty with an online course? Because obviously if you can't go in to take a test,
right,
you know, how can you trust that I don't have two monitors, one with my test and one that's got all my notes and everything on there, and I can't just, you know, scroll down and see what's what?
Right. One of my professors handled this in a very interesting way. Once I figured out what the purpose was, I understood it. What we had to do was angle down, if this was a laptop, you have to angle down the screen so the camera was pointing at a piece of paper. So we had to physically write out the answers to the test rather than type them up. So the professor and the TA were on the Zoom call, and they were able to see everyone's papers they were writing. So after an hour and the test was done, they would say, okay, take a picture of your paper and then upload them to the grading center within 5 minutes. Okay. That was one way he did it. Other professors, they didn't even bother with the final test. It was write a final paper.
All right, this is
which is easier.
Because that's the other accusation we see all the time is that remote learning is not nearly secure. There's more room for academic dishonesty. Did you see anything like that?
No, nothing really. No.
Well, that's all the time we have.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. It was great to be here.
Good to see you, Ian. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned something about education as a foreign national in Korea, and I hope you continue to tune into our videos in the future. Stay safe.